Welcome back to Super Bowl Radio Row here from New Orleans, joined now by NFL insider, national NFL insider for ESPN, Dan Graziano. Dan, thank you so much for hopping on. And
My pleasure.
Yeah, how's this Radio Row been for you guys?
Oh, it's good. Like I just, this is kind of the same every year, right? The Radio Row setup, but I mean, the week in New Orleans is great. I mean, being able to walk everywhere. I was over at the team media availabilities yesterday and the day before, so getting to talk to some coaches and players and everything. So it's been a productive and fun week so far.
Yeah, and for the city of New Orleans, this is such a great host site. This is my first time here. Is this one of the bigger, in terms of venues, I guess, and also media personalities, is this one of the biggest events you've been to as an NFL insider?
Yeah, the Super Bowl in New Orleans, like there's something to it. Like they know how to do it here. It's their 11th one, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a place, when the Super Bowl's in let's say Minneapolis, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was freezing cold the first week of February.
Yeah.
Maybe not as many of the stars are going to show up as they would here where the weather's nice and there's a lot to do. So, yeah, I do think you do, depending on the venue. Last year in Vegas, I think, was very much the same, right? It's a place that attracts a lot of people. So depending on where it is, you do get a little bit of a different crowd. But I'm sure the last couple of days have been just insane with the people that have been walking past here.
Yeah, it has been incredible. And, of course, the NFL Honors last night, a lot of people in town for that. Before we get started on the game coming up this weekend, I mean, NFL news has been circulating all week long. Earlier in the week, of course, Myles Garrett wanting out. How long has that kind of been in the works for, as well as you know? How long has that kind of been in the works, and does that catch you off guard at all?
Well, no. I mean, Myles been in the league 8 years, and what he's expressing is, a feeling that he might not be in a position to win the Super Bowl before his career's over. So I think the last couple of years in Cleveland, well, I mean, they were in the playoffs last year. People forget. But I think the way it fell apart this year, I think, he wanted to talk to the team about what's the plan, what's the direction. I guess he just didn't feel like he got the answers he was looking for. So I think he's he's a guy that I think gives everything he has to it. So I don't think like he was playing this year thinking, God, I hate this. I got to get out of here. But I think I believe him when he says, toward the end of the year, he decided he was going to need to think some things over. So we'll see. I mean, the Browns are not in a position where they can easily trade him. The dead cap money is prohibitive. They'd have to redo the contract. So we'll see. And they don't want to trade him. He's the face of the franchise guy, right? I mean, the quarterback for various reasons can't be. And so, they're trying to get a stadium built. Yeah. Right? So you need goodwill around your team. So they're in a tough spot.
Yeah, and also with Cooper Kupp heading to the trading block, it sounds like the Rams are shopping him, not really a trade request. That one kind of caught me off guard a little bit, and it sounds like it caught Kelly Stafford off guard a little bit after her comments on her podcast. Well, what's going on in L.A.? It feels like the Rams are in a position where they might need to do some rearranging a little bit with their cap situation.
Yeah, they do. And then Cooper Kupp's scheduled to make $20 million. He's going to be 32 years old. Obviously, he's not as productive as he used to be. He's their number 2 receiver now, and the number 1 being Puka Nacua, who's going to need a contract here in the next couple of years as well. So I think they're resetting a little bit. I think they've decided that they can't have Cooper Kupp on their team at $20 million. And it may be that they've decided that he's just they're moving on from him. So we'll see if they can get him traded. I think it's possible. He's a quarterback friendly guy. Like I think there are teams that'll look at him and go, not. Problem is I don't know that someone will want the contract.
Yeah.
So the Rams may have to pay some of it in order to get a deal done, and if not, they may end up having to cut him.
Talking to Dan Graziano here, ESPN NFL insider, and also the NFL draft, the combine coming up here in a couple weeks. The offseason really gets going here before the season really even ends. Is 2 quarterbacks in the first 3 starting to feel more and more likely, especially with Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders really not participating much in their senior bowls?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, so focused on Super Bowl stuff this week, I haven't really pivoted to draft mode. But, yes, it does seem like that is what we're looking. I mean, Tennessee is interesting. You can talk to some people who tell you Tennessee – is interested in trading the pick, right? So we'll see. I mean, if you don't love a quarterback up there, you're supposed to not take him, right? Because it can set you back. So, I think teams are still sorting through that, and the scouting and draft process is kind of in that zone right now. Combine is 2.5 weeks away.
Yeah.
So. That'll start heating up. But I do think, you always see quarterback. I mean, geez, we have 6 in the top 12 last year?
Yes, that was the number.
We won't get that, but that just gives you a sense that they get pushed up the board.
talking about this game coming up on Sunday, the Super Bowl between Chiefs and the Eagles. What makes this Chiefs team so different than the ones we've seen over the last 2 years? Because they've had a different recipe for getting there. I mean, it's been.
I don't know.
Yeah,
they look the same to me.
Yeah.
But no, what's interesting is I think offensively you did see them evolve over the course of the year. I think last year the defense was kind of dragging their offense into it. And this year the offense has played a lot better in the latter part of the year. And I think the development of Xavier Worthy, the return from injury of Hollywood Brown, two very important aspects of this. The acquisition of DeAndre Hopkins, who has not caught a lot of passes. But talking to some of the coaches the other day, like what he does on the sideline, what he does in practice in terms of sort of helping coach the other receivers and teaching them about route running and how to adjust your route based on what the defense is showing that day and all that kind of stuff. So he's had an impact kind of behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So I think offensively they're just sort of in better shape than they probably were heading into last year's Super Bowl. That's probably the biggest difference.
And then you brought up Xavier Worthy. It feels like this has been – I didn't expect this much out of him. I thought more so how they kind of used him in the Baltimore game. But injuries have really propelled him into a larger role, and he has thrived in it. I mean, is this kind of ahead of schedule? He's still 21 years old. This has been a great season for the Chiefs, not only for this year but looking forward.
Yes, he's first-round pick, so obviously much was expected. But I do think if you go back to September, they would have told you they weren't ready to give him a lot of volume, that they wanted to bring him along slowly. And, historically Andy Reid with rookie receivers, that has been the case, right? Even as good as Rashee Rice was as a rookie, it took a little while. So once Rice got hurt, and then once, obviously they found out early they weren't going to have Hollywood, I think that they started to say, well, we have no choice but to give Xavier Worthy a little bit more and see if he can handle it, and hopefully he can. Fortunately for them, he has been. But again, the stuff they were telling me about DeAndre Hopkins with Worthy specifically, I think they really have benefited from that acquisition in ways that they couldn't have foreseen and that have impacted in a positive way the development of a young player like Xavier Worthy.
And then you bring up the offense. Let's talk about the offensive line. It's been a really good unit this year. Trey Smith has been excellent, makes his first Pro Bowl. Creed Humphrey has done what he's done. But Joe Thuney sliding out the left tackle has really changed what this offense can do. It'll be a big test for Mike Caliendo on Sunday against Jalen Carter and against even Jordan Davis. It's a really good defensive line for Philly. What do you feel like the game plan is for the Chiefs if Jalen Carter has a really good first quarter exposing that left guard? Do you think there's an opportunity for Joe Thuney to slide back down to left guard to kind of, make things happen for them?
It doesn't sound like they want to do it, but the reason Joe Thuney's at left tackle is because they just ran out of options because they were getting too much pressure from the outside. So if all of a sudden the pressure's coming from the inside, it makes sense to move him back. Maybe easier said than done, like during a game, right? If you've been practicing a certain way for the last couple weeks, or maybe the last couple months in this case, now all of a sudden you kick him back inside. Who's playing left tackle? Somebody hasn't been doing it. So then, do the Eagles adjust? Is it more easy for Nolan Smith to get stuff on the edge? So I think that Chiefs' game plan will account for the likelihood that Jalen Carter is going to be a problem. I think that may mean a lot for Creed Humphrey in terms of which side he helps with. And, we'll see how it goes. But I think the answer is if there's problems with Jalen Carter creating pressure up the middle, you're going to see Mahomes getting rid of the ball real fast.
The number I've heard is 34-7, I believe is the number for Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo with more than a week to prepare for a game. What makes them so special and hard to decide, as an offensive coordinator like Kellen Moore going up against this Chiefs defense, or as Vic Fangio going up against a really good Chiefs offense, what makes them so difficult? Is it just gadget plays? Is it they've got more time to get healthy? What is it that they do so special with so much time to prepare?
So they're very smart, and they've coached a lot of football, and they know how to make a game plan, and if you give them extra time, they'll put more into it. They can make an extra good one. But they're also experienced enough to know not to do too much. In the first Super Bowl, when Sean McVay took the Rams to the Super Bowl against the Patriots, and they had that high-flying offense that couldn't score that day, McVay talked afterwards about having kind of over-prepared, kind of getting to the point where he was kind of talking himself into putting plays into the game plan just because he had so much time to go over.
Yeah.
I think Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo and this staff are experienced enough to know not to do that, right? Let's not get out of our comfort zone. Let's make sure that we stick with what we're good at. They're extremely good at identifying what the game plan is for that particular opponent. So they have players that buy into what they're selling and understand it's going to change week to week and why. And so they're great at communicating that. So, and then, success breeds success. It feeds on itself. You can stand there in the room and tell these guys what it's going to take to win, and they know you're telling them the truth because they've seen you do it. They've done it with you. So I think all that goes into what you're talking about, which makes them very formidable when they have extra time to prepare.
Andy Reid has said that he is coming back next season to be the Chiefs head coach.
Yeah.
It feels like he's now the young guy in the division. He's got, why wouldn't he? With Pete Carroll coming into the fold in the AFC West, I mean, it feels like Andy Reid is kind of the younger guy in the division, but he's got some really good coaches in the division as well. What do you think the timetable is for Andy Reid nobody seems to know. Everybody seems to float the idea out that he might retire, but I don't think anybody loves coaching ball more than he does.
Right. When I covered the Giants toward the end of Tom Coughlin's career, and he would be asked about retirement, he would always say, "To do what? Like what? I don't play golf. I don't I don't want to retire. I don't have anything else to do." And Andy may be that kind of guy, but he's also got. I mean, he's got Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Right? He's in the Super Bowl every single year.
That is the fountain of youth, really.
What are you walking away from, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you have a chance if you're Andy Reid to be considered the greatest ever to do this. I mean, I think he's 34 or 44 wins behind Shula for combined, he's got a chance to be first in wins all time if he sticks around 3 or 4 more years and keeps winning like this. So, look, he's not obviously super young for coaching, and you do wonder, like, unforeseen, if he does start to have a health concern, or if he just sort of feels like he burns out, but he doesn't seem to be. The retirement talk last year, it's not coincidental that all stopped when he got a new contract.
Yes.
Right? So I think that may have been more targeted than anything else. But, no, my understanding is as long as Mahomes is there and Andy feels like he can still do it, then I think he's going to keep doing it. And again, why wouldn't he?
Yeah, and what about their star pass catcher, Travis Kelce? It feels like his timeline might be a little bit expedited because of obviously, he's got a body to take care of.
Sure, absolutely, and probably other things he wants to do, right? I mean, he sees what his brother's doing post-career, and I know, Travis has certainly got a lot of irons in the fire outside of football, and has nothing left to prove to anyone, right? He'll walk into the Hall of Fame on the first try, and he's won his championships, plural. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what's in his head, but the age he's at, you do see, I think, probably slowing down a little bit. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not saying, I don't know. I don't know he's going to walk away after this year or after Sunday. But I think at this point, if he did, whether it's this year, next year, whenever, I don't think you could consider it a surprise.
Yeah, absolutely. Chiefs-Eagles Sunday, what's the deciding factor? What makes this game, what pulls the game in either direction for both of these teams?
The easy answer to me is always turnovers, right? If the Chiefs aren't doing it right now, the Eagles aren't either. But if somebody does, if somebody turns it over a couple times in the first half, they're probably at a significant disadvantage given how good both these teams are. And then, the difference is Mahomes. The difference is the experience, the playmaking in the fourth quarter in close games and overtime last year in the Super Bowl. It's just the Eagles are great. They look fantastic on paper, maybe even better than the Chiefs. But the Chiefs know how to win these games.
Yeah.
And all year it's, they don't look great. They're not doing this. It's they can't keep winning close games. The field goal got blocked or bounced. They blocked that field goal. It wasn't luck.
Yeah.
They just know how to do it. And it's not. We could go in. There are stats that support it. Talk about what they do in the fourth quarter, how their field goals in the fourth quarter are shorter than everybody else's because they're good at picking up that hidden yardage, that kind of thing. But fundamentally, what it comes down to is they know how to win these games.
Before we let you go, who is one team to watch this offseason that could really either expedite their quest for a Super Bowl or slow things down a little bit and start a rebuild?
Well, I think to the expedite, I think the easy answer there is Washington. And it might be cheating because they were just in the NFC Championship game, but I do think they were probably ahead of schedule, and they have so much cap space that they could go with the young quarterback on the rookie deal, they could make some aggressive moves. Similar to what you saw Houston do last year in free agency.
Yeah.
Right, for the same reason. Hey, we've got something here. We got to make sure and hit this window. Patriots are interesting because they have the quarterback and they have a coach now that I think will get the program going quickly, and they have more cap space maybe than anyone. So I wouldn't be surprised if they were a team that looked better next year, given what we saw from Drake May. They get him some receivers.
Yeah, well, Dan, appreciate your time. Enjoy your time the rest of the week here in
Will do.
New Orleans,
Thanks
and
for
thanks for hopping on.
My pleasure.